Okay, we're live. I'm not going to say the sponsors quite yet. Instead, I'm going to let Donovan fucking own architecture. Go.
Well, once people have money or they have the technology to throw at it, they do reject the ugly. Say, for example, that's, like those housing projects, those are the ugly. And what it is that, of course, the idea is, as we were watching this thing, is that these were people who had no option. They were poor, they were young, this is the place to live when they moved to a big old city. The city doesn't care about beauty anymore because they just want the bodies there to do the work. So when you look at somebody like throughout these building projects in communist China that they show off to us, beautiful glass buildings with glass floors, glass stairs.
That's only where the privileged live, right? That's only where the most privileged.
Of course, yes, they're in the most probably best parts of the beautiful part of the city, and then like say the Middle East, where all the craziest money of these Emirates and stuff, and you look at the places they built,
like Mercedes, and they break the law constantly.
Yeah, where they're just rolling in fleets of these Bentleys, and and all of them with ground effect kits, and then they drive up to their like immense like palatial estate in the middle of this desert nation, and you look at this palatial estate and you see the beautiful, you see the symmetrical, you see a pattern to the design. They'll have a pool that's shaped with no corners, it's all round, and so I can even prove this then with technology. When us poor people get a chance, us normal people get a technology that lets us live, say in Fallout, in our own, or Minecraft, in our own palatial estate. It's not some crazy thing out of a housing project and out of the 60s revolution of modern design. It's always something with the classical elements of beauty, like Eleonora does a lot of this stuff. There's like so many mods that when you see the really awesome mods that are outlandishly beautiful and quote unquote non-immersive, it's because they're so well done in that manner. They are really beautiful.
Yeah, do you play Fallout yourself, or do you just watch tutorial videos?
I mostly watch a lot of the mod videos because I've been so fascinated at where the modding world is going, and I'm saving up for a computer now. I actually, while you guys were talking earlier, I sort of like slipped away and was like taking a look to see on my Amazon wish list, like, okay, is this computer still on there? Shit! The only one left in stock is gone! Shit! And so...
you funny bastard! You cheated on us! No, I'm just kidding.
So it's... I want to... That's the game. It was EVE Online and Fallout 4 are the two that I just have some sick fascination with, so...
Well, that's the thing. Humans like to create. Humans like the idea that out of their own hands, they were able to achieve what only nature was thought to be able to make. Like we see, like Donovan, do you agree that when you see something like there's like a place, I think like in like the heartland of America, I don't remember where it is, but it's a destination a lot of tourists go to. I think maybe it's in Virginia. I don't know, but there's a place where like the mountains and like meets like the lakes, and the lake is so clear that the mountain reflects like a mirror, a perfect mirror off of the lakes. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. They showed it in Forrest Gump, remember? When he was running?
Oh.
Huh. I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, I would figure, where was he? Was he in...
I don't know.
Was he in Alabama or Georgia?
I don't know. Maybe. I know it was somewhere. I know it was somewhere kind of in the country. I know that. Like it was somewhere out in the boonies of the Bible Belt states, I think, right?
I mean, that's the thing is I keep thinking that he was in like Alabama, Georgia, or Mississippi.
No, that's where he was raised. Remember, he ran all across the country.
Oh yeah. I have no idea where that would be.
Yeah, but
you're right. People pay money to watch Forrest Gump, and that's what they like to see.
Yeah.
When they pay money, when in movies, We know you don't see some grotesque, half laboratory, half closet, partial bedroom thing that's supposed to be super dank, that the rich guy has. The rich guy always has this beautiful, sweeping, no corners, everything's round. It's all very, instead of modern, it's Art Nouveau, that'll have a lot of those brass and frame weavings of metal that are all, very rounded and very organic.
He'll have like an old spiral staircase. It has metal cast iron railings.
Totally.
And there'll be flowers on like little corners as he walks up or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's the thing. I think that when we create architecture, is essentially our contribution to the beauty we already see in giant mountains like that. It's like, do you think that that the Pharaoh would have been good enough if like the Pyramid of Giza was, I don't know, some kind of weird modern art abortion where it's like 5 pillars and a tampon in the middle?
I know, totally. It's a pyramid. No, you got it. A pyramid, but up on a number of pillars. Like where everyone comes up like, I like the top part, but I don't get the bottom.
Or even better, if they really wanted to do it right, they would specifically have it wouldn't be a pyramid. Instead, it would be an upside down vagina shape or something.
Oh yes. Just like a big penis sort of leaning, with the balls way out, like over the desert, and it's like somebody's like, now that is genius, yes,
Yeah. Then I'd be like, no, that's taste. I could just imagine. I could imagine the Pharaoh actually doing that in real life. Instead of creating he creates the pyramids of Giza, but then just at the border between Egypt and a rival tribe, he just has them erect a giant penis and just, sit there. So when they want to invade, they have to go around the thing.
Totally, they gotta go. They have to avoid the giant penis. We're gonna get that damn Pharaoh. Oh, this damn wiener. Damn. Oh, it just gets to me. We're gonna take this thing down or we're done.
Oh my god. Roganar, what do you think of that?
It'd be a very great marker to be seen for miles around.
Yeah. That sounds like what would happen if Trump was the Pharaoh.
Oh god.
No, I could just imagine like, we are going to build a giant penis between us and we're gonna make the Hittites pay for it. I'd be like, yes, make Memphis, Egypt great again.
Oh my god, yes, that's a good one.
Wait, is Pharaoh gonna make the Jews pay for it?
Boom. I was waiting for that one. I'm like, wait a second.
Well, like, but come on. I mean, like, you have to save your money. I mean, come on. Don't you read the Talmud? No. Oh, you don't? Oh, never mind. Oh man, he would have the Jews pay for it. He would have the Jews make sure to do the accounting.
Oh god.
Like he'd make the Greeks. No, he'd make the Greeks pay for it, but then he'd make sure but he used the Jews to make sure it was finished on time. And there goes my channel.
I'm wondering right now, is the Gopnik thing still up on the
yes,
like is the audience in the okay, I was just wondering. I was like, because it's one of these things, I'll bring it up every once in a while to people, like, oh, blah blah Gopnik, and one kid who plays video games at my job, well, he's not really a kid, he's in his 20s, but he was like, oh yeah, totally, blah blah blah, and all of a sudden he knew it all. He he knew how to say whole phrases. And I guess it's because he'll be on, you know, a video game and he could hear people talking, you know, and stuff. So it's like, I'm like, oh, this is like a whole cultural thing that I don't know about. You know, that's fucking great. You know, I love it.
Turning into weebs, but with Slavs instead of Japanese people.
You know, it is kind of that thing. I'm like, there's going to be a name for Americans who are kind of fascinated by Eastern Europeans, you know, like because you see that a lot on the right, you know, the Eastern European women and that meme, you know, this perfect Eastern European women, these beautiful Czech women, these, you know, beautiful Belarusian women and stuff, you know, and I no doubt, you know,
in the Polish, right? Oh,
yeah, you know, no doubt, you know, it's like, you know, it's just that kind of thing. Like, there's got to be a name for this, you know. It's like
I think it's because or something.
What's up?
I don't know.
I mean, but it's something like Weeboo, but you know, we just don't know.
You know, the alt-right is filled to the brim with anime weebs, and people who are like kind of into transsexuals and kind of on the DL.
Did you see there was a video of this fucking there's this fucking Swedish, like, well, he was called a white national. I don't know if he's actually a white national. He'd be like a white identitarian. Anyway, the point was he was like fucking standing in front of this ruined castle and like fucking artificially deepening his voice. I'm just like, and swinging his arms around. I'm just like, oh, this is so fucking cringe. What the fuck are you doing?
Oh man, oh that's funny.
It's on my Twitter thing if you want to play it, but it's just like
I will later.
I mean, with the help of so many employees. So imagine all these workforces moving out of their babushkas into big cities like Moscow. And since more workforce means more money to the companies, huge high-rise buildings were made. Some even 20, 30 stories high. Not that these buildings didn't already exist in the 60s, but the amount of people moving into big cities like this, especially young.
By the way, I just want to show that picture again.
But the amount of people moving into big cities
like that. Oh my!
Wow!
No! Bad Russia, go home. Oh, it's God damn it! That's not how you do architecture. That is not how you build a building.
Nobody would even do that with a Lego set.
Like I'm autistic, and I wouldn't even do that when I was. Like, it's pretty bad when autists would be like, you went a little too far. This is just fucking...
Yeah, bro, you've gone too far.
Also, all these people on the spectrum get driven here. They're like, what the fuck is this shit? Oh, man. A bunch of Armenians get driven there. And in case
I gotta admit,
what?
There's one thing...
In case you're wondering what I'm talking about, last time I said like they have a spectrum of how dark they are, and then Roganart's like, "You mean Armenians are on the spectrum?" That should be a staple of the show. All right, am I Armenian autists? But
I keep wondering, like, where, Mike? The thing I get curious about is like, where is that? You know, I wish, like, at some point somebody could drop in a comment or something, oh, that's like the city of blah, 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 or that's a abandoned part of da-da-da, or, you know, that's Chernobyl or something, you know, like, because it's just so monstrous looking, you know, it's just so crazy looking.
You know, I could see this being a cool area to be if they were to change some things. Like, what I could see it is if maybe they like filmed like a bunch of action movies there, like they abandoned it and then they kind of broke, and then they intentionally blew up certain areas of that place to make it look like a war-torn area, and maybe then put in a bunch of other stuff so they could like film like, you know, like Bad Times in Chernobyl 5, the B movie.
I gotta admit, I was thinking, I'm like, that would be a great place to train a tactical shooting room. I mean, shit, if you could have like you could have the biggest company on the planet that will teach you urban warfare if you had a chunk of that neighborhood at your access.
Yeah.
You have people in from all over the world, you know. We know we've got a staging area ready at all times, you know.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude! You know what, Russia, Putin, get on that shit, man. You're having a hard time getting the money for all those rails and all that transportation across your goddamn big dick of a country. I mean, come on, man. Get some Saudi oil money and have some of these people feel like they're soldiers for 5 minutes. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they can't shoot for shit. Just give them laser tag guns, but and just tell them go have fun.
Now I gotta admit, I'm also not exactly being original, because there is when I was looking up in the whole international phenomena of nationalism, I looked up Russian nationalists, and they do use abandoned projects as like shooting room practice areas for urban warfare to take back the motherland from, the dirty Muslim hordes, I guess.
Yeah. Oh man, that is they should do that. You know what? They could film movies there, like zombie movies, vampire movies. It really gives a good vibe for like the gritty, ugly, action movie with the badass cop who's living in zombie world.
Totally.
He's got an eye patch and he doesn't play by the rules.
It is Officer Bliat. He does not play by the rules. You see, he's living in zombie land, in the horrible part of town full of zombies.
Yes, in zombie land, rules obey you.
Oh my God! Nailed it.
Oh man, we need someday to make a really ridiculous B movie and have the subtitle be in Zombieland, rules obey you.
I gotta admit, one of my things with the whole Fallout, my whole thing is I kind of want to be one of those people who has a ridiculous voiceover all the time going, and see if I could pull it off like Mystery Science Theater 3000 practically, and I just, the Russian accent I think is, because it's one of the only ones I could sort of snap into. I want to try to make it funny, and if I ever stream it, and that's one of those where I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to see if I could get like the Gopnik Adidas face mask for
Wait, you should try crossing between between Boris, as well as what's it called? Gary Oldman's version of Victor Reznov. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, you're in for a treat. Hold on. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. Here we go. So what the blame is Gopnik?
Especially younger people demanded even more rooms for living than before. So now imagine a whole street, a whole neighborhood, or even whole part of city filled with these huge apartment buildings. So as you can imagine, there is not very much things to do there. I mean, sure, if you are a hard-working employee, you have family, you have aspirations in life, then yes, you can keep yourself busy with something productive. But remember, these huge apartment buildings, they were made for mass housing. This meant that living was cheap. I mean, you could pay month's rent with half bottle of vodka. And this attracted whole new kind of crowd. The kind of иди нахуй, I squat where I want crowd. Exactly crowd which just about half a day in whole month just to pay rent and live the rest of the month on vodka, семечки and buterbrot. And as everybody knows, eating семечки and drinking vodka are social activities. So he grabs his snack and breaks just a bit of light beer, goes outside and yells, "Сука, блядь!" This attracts the attention of his good friend who has just finished his hefty work for the whole month. And since there is no benches and the ground is cold, this got done on full wheels for best balance, of course. And thus the Gopnik was born, being a Adapted to society as an expired slice of bread, enjoying simple things in life like living and breathing, and talking shit about anything and everything. Dancing to hard bass and leaving big mountains of sandwich shells wherever he goes. Smoking 5 packs of cheap cigarettes every day. Endless not yet. Introducing whole world to beautiful street design of Adidas. Because when you realize that the tracksuit is most comfortable, worn anytime, any place, only then will you understand what it means to be cocky. So, are they aggressive? Not really. Unless you try to steal their 2-liter bottle of light beer. Or, worst case than that, you make eye contact with one of their gopniца, which is a female gopnik. You see, gopnik is original.
Yeah, so here's his voice.
I didn't know this till we were covering the show, that Gary Oldman, you are the voice in Call of Duty.
Yes, one of them.
Wow.
I'm General Reznov. Yeah. I'm more famous for that than anything else, I tell you.
That's a big deal.
That's Call of Duty.
It's not that big a deal.
I'm not down.
No, it's a World War II. That's what they're going
Gang.
first-person shooter. Yeah.
You kind of take control of a warrior.
Yeah. You take control of a warrior.
You take control of a brave warrior and guide him through battles of the Second World War. So, I have done, yeah. I mean, I have a baby now, so I can't really break away from fatherhood to say, I'm going to go upstairs for 5 hours and shoot people. Maybe you must do. So, I've kind of given up, really.
But how much do you say in it?
Tons, yeah. I mean, it's 4 days in a studio, and you literally scream your head off. I mean, I've never shouted so much you have to do it in like 4-minute bursts, because there's all the sort of variables that the directives that the player can go. So you have to give them all the options, and they have this thing which is battle cry, which is your voice, but it's over music and battle sounds. So it literally is a scream fest for about 4 days. But I was in one with Kiefer Sutherland. It was funny, and he came out and he said, "Hey, man," he said, "I haven't screamed so much since I was married."
Nice.
But how loud do you get?
I could do it for you.
Do it.
But it's sort of like, Dylan! On the ledge! Shoot him! Attack! Over the crowd!
For 4 days. The Graham Norton.
Kind of like that, you know. With the Reznov voice. Oh, wait. And here's the best example.
My father was a musician in Stalingrad. During the German occupation, the sound of his violin filled the air with magnificent music.
Black Ops 1.
Many of the great nationalist composers. To my countrymen, it was a symbol of hope. To the Germans, it was a symbol of defiance. Even now, his music still haunts me. The Nazi slit his throat while he slept. Collaborating with any Nazi is a betrayal against all of Mother Russia. Dragovich, Krashenko were not troubled by such matters. They look only to advance their own interests and agendas.
That was actually an awesome scene.
I have fought through the most bitter of winters on the Eastern Front.
Yeah, pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wanted to show you this because, the JQ is still... Anyway, so just tell me what you think of this, though. This is from one of God's chosen people. But he does really funny videos, though. Here we go.
Most restrictive... Firm, but with little give. Yep, these are medium rare.
What if somebody wants
To boycott the state of Israel.
Yet firmly to leave.
Bahia Amawi is a Palestinian American who had been working as a speech pathologist for nearly 10 years in Austin, Texas. However, last year, she didn't sign her renewal contract with the state and lost her job. The reason? In her last contract was a line that demanded she not participate in any boycott of Israel while she worked for the state. Yes, in her contract, the state of Texas dictated that an individual citizen could not be allowed to boycott a foreign country. And this wasn't just for spending money on things related to her job as a speech pathologist, but anything. The wording so broad in general, it would mean that if she decided to go to the grocery store and not buy hummus made in Israel for her own personal use, she would be violating her contract. And she wasn't the only one. This contract stipulation applied to everyone in the state of Texas who was receiving money or working for the state.
That cow,
Because
by the way,
Texas passed a law in 2017.
that cow is absolutely adorable. Did you see that? In the front?
No, show it again. What was that?
The cow in the front of that building.
I didn't see. I missed it actually. Apparently, I missed it.
Only one. This contract stipulation.
There.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's that's great.
that steer is absolutely adorable. Broken Heart, can you see that?
No, I can't see it right now. But hey guys, continue on.
Wait, hey Broken Heart, do you ever have access to a library?
Yeah, I do sometimes.
Sometimes
not always. Sometimes I just want to sit
What?
back and do stuff at home.
I figured that if you were at a library, you could go into like a quiet computer room or something like that, and
Yeah, sometimes.
Applied to everyone in the state of Texas who was receiving money or working for the state. Because Texas passed a law in 2017 making it illegal for the state to pay or hire any business or individual who was involved with a boycott of Israel. Now, while I do support Israel for obvious reasons, I do find it completely insane that a state government could dictate what an individual citizen can and cannot protest or boycott on their own time, and with their own money. It seems like a pretty clear violation of the First Amendment, and Amawi is suing in response. But she isn't the only one caught up in these laws, nor is Texas the only state that has these anti-boycott statutes. No,
in
in fact,
my states! Ah! And that's part of the reason why, even though I don't like Tammy Baldwin, I really wish she had lost to Vukmir, I don't like Leah Vukmir that much either. Just, she's one of the people who helped get that passed through my state's legislature. And when I do run, when I do run for state senate, I'm one of the first three things I'm going to do is definitely repeal that.
I mean that law. I mean that law in Texas sounds insane. Like what?
It is. Like Donovan, you know about this so far, right?
Yeah, I've heard about a lot of this, and what my whole thing was, I'm like, I am really having a hard time trying to figure out how extensive is this? Because I was like, okay, so do they mean that if you work in some official capacity while on the clock, you can't have anything to do with that, any kind of activity like that? I'm like, that would sort of not be the weirdest thing. And I'm like, but then I'm like, people I'm seeing that I trust are saying this is way outlandish, and I've been waiting for somebody.
Because the wording is very, very strict and very, very aggressive when it comes to making people comply, but the wording is also very ambiguous because they're trying to force people to do this even on a personal capacity, and they're trying to do it in a way where in your own personal capacity, like when you're at home and you're not on the clock, because it's ambiguous language. If someone were to say, no, this is a violation of freedom of speech, it can be ambiguous enough where they can be, well, I mean, maybe you just misunderstood the law. But we're still going to violate your freedom of speech. It's designed to be, the wording is very ambiguous.
So basically, every big text terms of service.
Yes. Yes. There we go.
That's a great way of putting it. TOS has, law and TOS are the same kind of language now. And I totally get what you mean in the sense of, if I were to think about this, how would somebody know? Somebody could just basically say, "Oh, I know you don't buy hummus from, or you don't buy Nutella because of Israel or something like that." Like, how would somebody even know that? Inform on the person such that then they lose their jobs. So their job's gone, and now they have to do a negative proof.
Yeah.
You know, oh no, I love Nutella. No, I love Israel. You know, that, you know, they got it. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is, like, again, it's like going to Nutella. Like, what if, I mean, let's say somebody watches one of the cable news or something, or reads newspapers online, but they don't read an Israeli published one or something. But, like, does that count as a boycott? I mean, if you don't ever read an Israeli paper, is that technically boycotting Israel? You know, I don't fucking know.
That's why they want to do it. They want to make sure that you don't know, so you don't test it, and so that way, even if they ignore one thing, like that would be blatant ignoring of Israel. Like if you literally did not buy a menorah that was being sold in your store, that was being handed out or something like that. I don't know. Like if there was something blatant, like I don't know, like maybe like you actually said, I don't like when Israel did this. If somehow they're able to let you keep your job, they could at any time flip on you and just say, well, you said this back in this time, and maybe you didn't buy the correct hummus. So you know, so now we're just going to say that you boycotted us. You know, it's designed to be ambiguous. It's designed to be a catch-all. Yeah, and that's the thing. But I have to ask. So, is Nutella really from Israel?
All I know is they were eating it there a lot.
Okay, so
have similar laws. So this may lead you to wonder, why do these laws exist? How can the government dictate who you can and cannot boycott? Why Israel, a foreign country?
Is George Soros behind it?
Is this some kind of Jewish conspiracy?
No. Like with most things in life, the answer is complicated and far more nuanced.
Nuance, bro. Do you see that?
I like that. Yeah, that was good. I do like PSA Sitch quite a bit. I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but I do like that. And if you do give him evidence, he will weigh it. So I dig that.
So he's not so biased he's blind. He just has different beliefs, right?
Yeah, and he does tend to, I think it's like he's one of these people that really wants to believe that the liberal tradition will balance out the various viewpoints of at least the people who are really kind of, they're offering a serious social concept or issue or something like that. Like, you know, that the fringe people are the fringe people, and he's one of those. He's kind of that realm. He's that realm of thinking. Fringe people are fringe, you know.
Well, what do you believe exactly? I'm just curious.
Wait,
I said, okay, so what's your disagreement there? I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just want to understand.
I sometimes think that I no longer believe in the dichotomous. That you slide to the left or slide to the right. There's somebody put out sort of a triangle shape of politics, and I'm like, yeah, there we go. That describes what I've seen very, very well. And
what are the 3 points of the triangle?
Oh, it's I would say you would want to take a look for the image of political trichotomy, because it's really quite beautifully put together. Like, it's one of those things that, like, from a libertarian perspective, you're like, like libertarians would be like, finally, you know, you're pointing out that there's people who will always kick your ass whether they believe in God, king, or nothing. You know, and there's actually just people like that, you know, that they believe in kicking people's ass for things. And then there's people who want to be left alone, you know, and so it's kind of cool.
Well, sorry, what were I dropped out. What were the 3 points again? Or
technology, capitalism.
Wait, hold on, wait. Move around the screen, because none of these are... There it is.
Right here?
With the gray. Gray.
Gray?
Way up at the top left.
Because I mean, the thing is
where?
that a lot of the way I think about politics
That
is,
one, yeah,
is generally the political compass test a bit. Because I mean, it's not perfect, but it does make some sense, sort of.
Okay, so
that's it.
Communism, individualism, absolutism. What is? Oh, what the fuck? Shit. Absolutism.
Yeah, what would absolutism be exactly?
Humans can be property. The empire owns the kings. The kings own the lords. So feudalism?
Wait, what?
That's what it sounds like. Absolutism sounds like feudalism.
Because those are governments that at the present time do exist.
So, I see. So you're saying that it's not that there isn't a left or a right, but they can go in two different directions.
Yeah, that there's this, and that the tendency toward absolute or totalitarianism, as it says at that one edge between communism and absolutism, it's that it just posits, well, there are people who just will think, if you just tell people what the fuck to do and you hurt them, if they don't, they'll do. And so that's one of those things I don't think we don't take that into account. And the libertarians really showed that they're like, well, because coercion is an essential part of what we conceive of as government so far in human history, we have to consider there's a bunch of people just kick the shit out of people and call it governance. And I'm like sitting there like, oh my gosh, I didn't think of it that way. And he goes like, that's why you have a military industrial complex. There are people that.
So PSA Stitch. I keep saying Stitch. PSA Stitch isn't a liar. He just maybe doesn't believe that there's three.
Yeah, I don't think. And this is something that I didn't hear this theory of. Oh.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't hear this theory of diagramming governmental ideas and stuff like that. I had never seen that before, but I had thought about it. And once I saw a diagram that way, I'm like, oh, that's a very good way of putting that. Okay, yeah.
Isn't this? I mean, this is essentially. I mean, that's essentially what authoritarianism is, though. I mean. Right?
Oh, yes. So it posits in the way that this is designed that you can have an authoritarianism that even allows an amount of voting. That would be sort of in the middle of the triangle and toward the absolutist and toward the communist. That you have a little bit of participation, but most, you should do what we say. Because we know best, and who we is shouldn't really matter to you, and that all the way to the far one of the far corners, individualism, where then you have a wide variety of ways that people will vote for their individual rights or preserve them, however they'll do it, and so
like
it's
oligarchy, almost, like the voting, but with It sounds like oligarchy kind of.
I'm sorry, I missed a lot of what you guys were talking about.
Well, say that might be a great way of describing what we conceive of as the Russian form of governance is almost in the dead center of the triangle.
What's that?
You can vote for us, but you better, you can vote, but you better vote for us, or else we'll put cesium or some shit in your bloodstream.
Yeah, like you do understand, we do know what is best. So if you step too far out of line, we are going to have to teach you a lesson, But you can vote. You can vote. You can, please vote,
Just vote for us.
Yes, just vote for us, or don't vote for that guy. That's the other one, That's the other way.
The other interesting
so
too
totalitarianism. Let's be honest. Well, not totalitarianism, because totalitarianism would mean that you have the ability to not even give people the vote in the first place.
By the way, this actually kind of reminds me a little bit. I mean, since we're talking about Russia and stuff like that, is like back in the day, with the United States, freedom of speech used to be you can say it, but the government can still punish you for it. That's the way it was back, like way back in the day, because they had like sedition laws and stuff like that, and that's kind of what Russia has. Like,
that's really
you can
stupid.
say the stuff, we just might arrest you.
So, in other words, you can't say it without getting punished.
You're never sure. You might get, yes, capital might.
Yeah, might. Quote, yeah.
As in, just don't test the waters unless you got a good damn reason, right?
And that's the thing is
even
that
then you might
and you know, and it depends on in that case, it does then depend on the power of your political faction, and that is, you know, for the Russians, they understand that very palpably. You know, they understand. No. You know, this political party gets enough power. They could run the fucking show because people will do what it takes to get by, you know, and so I get their tenuous way that they could even approach something as parliamentarian as Britain or France. You know, they can't quite risk that yet until they have a generation of people who really seem to be invested in Russia's future, if they can do that.
Oh, because Russia's kind of like ever since the Soviet Union, they got rid of that. They've really had to reel back from the economic disaster that was. So if one thing goes wrong, it all goes down the shitter, right?
It could go down the crapper. And that's it's kind of interesting to see how Putin's played the game. I mean, versus international banking.
Well, let's be honest though. It's really the secular Jews that probably are the most anti-nationalism, right?
What I have seen is
generally more, yeah.
Is more secular, and then people who tend to be into the more mystical Kabbalah kind of people.
But like a lot of Orthodox Jews, I know everyone's going to say, "What about Ben Shapiro?" Shut up. Okay, not everyone is Ben Shapiro, and actually, I think Ben's beliefs, I think they kind of have changed. He doesn't seem the same. He seems like he might have gotten some money from a certain person. You know,
the other thing about what is it in Israel? The Orthodox Jews do not like the state of Israel really, because they're being forcibly conscripted now and stuff like that. And I mean, granted, like the Orthodox Jews are kind of weird, like have weird cultural beliefs.
Really?
Like that,
you don't say.
I mean, because I mean, you guys have seen the picture of like there's like an Orthodox Jew who had like a fucking plastic bag over him in the plane because he was being he had a seat and there was like a woman next to him in the seat and he's not supposed to sit next to a woman or something. It's just like, okay, dude, all right.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they're a lot more peaceful because they have the Yahweh, they have the Jehovah who says, No. You can't interpret my laws however you like. But when you look at a lot of secular Jews, they seem to more or less like be kind of the assholes who show up to every game and get super drunk and then throw shit at the players. Except now they're the majority. Except now that's most of everybody there. Like if you look at them, if they and the way they behave, without that feeling of a wrathful Old Testament God, they kind of enforce their laws how they want to enforce them. You know, they seem to see their own rules of their traditions as more of a tool and more like a team jersey of, oh, we've got all these people, and my cousin over here, he's the lawyer, and my cousin over here, he's the doctor, and my cousin here works in Hollywood, and my cousin here is the politician, and we will kick your ass, you know, kind of thing. You get what I mean?
Well, the thing with like the extremely Orthodox, like, and the extremely Orthodox is that a lot of them can be rather eccentric, you know, because it's Israel, you know, and that so they can be. But I mean, a lot of people are really far more like, you know, like Ben Shapiro. Like they do have different, you know, types of knives and stuff that they use for things. And it's just they naturally maintain certain standard rules. Now you're right, though. The vast majority of people who are like immigrant Jews, especially from Eastern Europe, they pretty much were raised secular, and they
the team jersey. They're wearing the team jersey, but they don't really believe in the powerful, wrathful man who will punish you if you are bad, right?
Well, it's weird because there's people from all over different communities now that they've moved there that are becoming Orthodox or different, like more and more Orthodox. There's not really the country has moved rightward in general, and it's disturbing the Israeli left, and that is why you're seeing sort of world Judaism really trying to sort of push left ideas, push Muslim integration into the West, but they don't really
Orthodox, right?
Well, but they don't want to talk about Israel at all. They just don't want to talk about it. They do not want to discuss. It's like suddenly it's not there. And it's because it's moving rightward and they're losing.
Yeah, and the worst part is that, like, for them is that the secular left Jews who like do you agree that it's kind of a team jersey for a lot of the secular ones to say they're a Jew and it's not so much belief system anymore?
I think they really think that.
Wait, Donovan,
then I mean, is that a yes or a no? I couldn't tell what you meant.
No, I think they think it's race. Rather, they don't consider themselves Hebrews. They consider themselves Jews. I like using the term Hebrew and Jew separately.
So and do you think that maybe the lack of a feeling that there's a God you are bound to who will see all your sin, do you think that might encourage them to not care so much about nationalism or how they affect other people or how they hurt other people or maybe if they lie? Like the lack of a belief that there is something beyond governments, there's something beyond you and me who will take revenge in the old-fashioned way too, and you can't run from him.
Like, wait, Donovan, what do you?
No, Donovan, what do you think?
Well, I mean, it depends on what kind of people. Some of these people are total atheists and blend into society doing normal shit.
Oh, they just don't care, right? They just don't care.
I mean, we just would never even know. You know, most of them, I mean, there's people all over YouTube who they have to kind of admit it's like they're just not theists.
Like you would never know that Dave Rubin just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, you know, like you would just never know until he brought up, like, oh yeah, Rubin, duh. You know, and you're like, oh. We're like, oh, okay. And then you go on because obviously he's not whipping out, you know, a yarmulke or something, you know, but there are people who I think, especially you see it in political activism and journalism and the arts, are people who there's some confliction going on and they want us to be on the ride in their experience of, is there a God? Is there not a God? Am I an American or am I an Israeli? You know, and it's just like, okay, no, you're from Yonkers.
A musical.
Fucking, you know, yeah, you know, it's like fucking write what were the facts of the story? You know, just write it. Write the fucking story, you know, print and publish. God damn it, stop trying to sell us, you know, your musical about your experience, you know, and I think a lot of ethnic minorities that there's this weird confliction that's why for me I'm like sold on the Republic, because I'm like, no, with the Republic I am whoever my history was, but I'm a citizen of the Republic, and that's what I have in common with everybody at all times.
And you can have multiple identities at once. You can have multiple identities that all amalgamate in a unique one, right?
And that's the other part of it, is that I think there's these people who are, I need to fit into the this race when we Zerg swarm the others, you know, and I'm just kind of like, dude,
we must have an ethno state. No, we must not. What about America? Come on, we're white.
It's yes, and there's a lot of that. I kind of feel like I'm in a musical a lot of times with that kind of stuff.
I mean, I guess the thing is that's the problem with all this with all this identitarianism, because people aren't, you know, people are thinking of themselves as, you know, other you know, because the thing is, the way my conception is, there's an America, like in the United States there's a monoculture. It's you know, you're a United States citizen, and then there's a bunch of other identities under that.
Subcultures.
The important one is you're an American and you're going to support your country.
Yes, and everything else, and we are not a nation of white Europeans as much as we are a white European culture. Like, we are post-European. I think that we need to see America as a place that was built by Europeans and a little bit more by other countries and other nationalities, but that we are a pan-cultural European country. And
I mean, we have. I think we have roots there, but
we are not a mono race. And
but the thing is, in regards to culture, though, it's like, sure, we have European roots, but how many times we've had to go back twice to Europe and teach them how to do their fucking shit? So,
like twice.
Boom.
World War I, World War II.
Hey, remember Medicare? Remember Medicare was saying, "Hey, like he was having that stream. He was like, and people were saying, "Hey, can America invade us already and free us from our stupidity?" No, we're not going to do that. You know, you kept putting your hand on the frying pan all the time. We kept telling you, stop putting your hand up there. We're like, okay, go ahead and do it. See what fucking happens.
I do remember that was pretty funny.
I don't know. Maybe third time's the fucking charm. Like, god damn it, Europe. What the fuck are you guys doing?
We have to keep it. You see, this is why America has to constantly conflict with, should we be the police of the world? Or should we leave everyone alone? Yeah.
Well, a big part of what's happened with the right is that it's been good. This has been very good, that a lot of the young folks, like you guys, started to look back far enough to realize everyone always says the word American isolationism, and then they look down, you know, they're in a speech and they're like, the era of American isolationism, and they shake their head. And, you know, and so what they're doing is they're trying to say, oh, yes, young man, one day you'll be in somebody else's country getting shot, you know, like, and that I'll be old and you'll be paying for my fucking retirement. Thanks, you know.
You know what we should do? We should, absolutely, if we have to, invade Europe.
Oh, I'll be right back.
We should invade Europe, liberate them, and then make them pay us for our military support, and say, you are not getting an ounce of aid. You pay us.
Hey, I mean, the thing is, with the Gulf War, Saudi Arabia actually paid like half the cost, from what I read.
That's pretty bad.
Sorry. Saudi Arabia plus Kuwait. They both like contributed about half the fucking cost of that shit.
Oh my god, that is really Europe.
Okay.
Europe, you got to step up your great game. Middle Eastern dictatorships are better friends than our oldest allies. What the hell? Oh man,
I don't know.
That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Like, these are the people who are funding ISIS and are funding Hezbollah. These are the people who are more than willing to pay money to people who throw acid on the faces of little girls and say, the Americans. And they're ugly in their horrible heathenistic ways. But they
one other thing. Speaking of ISIS, one of the things I've read is ISIS for a while was making a whole bunch of money because the European countries were on the down low paying for hostages. They were paying for hostages and shit like that. I'm just like, god damn it. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Oh my god, but that's so funny. That is unbelievably hilarious. But I have to I can kind of understand why the Jews would want to be so powerful and have so much influence. I think I could understand that to a certain degree, because when you think about it, like, they're a minority group. Like, have you heard of like the Zoroastrian faith?
Yeah.
Well, that's like that's originally what it was in Iran.
Yeah. And by the way, a lot of those people are regularly beat up, and because just like the Jews, they're not allowed to marry outside of their own race, and they have a lot of other strict traditions. That's why they're on the down low, but they wouldn't be that way if they kept those same traditions, but they had power.
No, but I mean, but the thing is, though, I think a lot of I don't think it's really like it's want power. It's more along the lines of just like Jews on average have very high IQs, and they're naturally going to go to positions that are suited to them.
If you said that on TV today. Oh my God.
I'm saying it's a compliment. Jews are intelligent, are they not?
No, I'm not.
Well, now also, what were the big thing though is that this applies to the Ashkenazim in the Middle East. While there have been periods where you had, say, some government and a nation where Jews were a minority, and that they gained some prominence or something. Overall, they were pretty much like considered, like middleman people. They don't test particularly high IQ-wise. The Mizrahi and the Sephardi.
They're not low IQ, they're kind of average, right? They're pretty
average, yeah, and they're like kind of like average Mediterraneans, and so that's where you start to find like. It's also like a lot of what's happening in Israel now has to do with a generation of all these different kinds of Jews sort of working out who is a Jew and what is a Jew. And this has been kind of a tough thing for them, as they have a religious council that are mostly Ashkenazi rabbis, from what I understand. And so what is a Jew becomes a really tough question when you have people separated from the Ashkenazi for hundreds of years.
Donovan, we need to make a version of this on ice. What is a Jew? And then we should have a really offensive parody of like Fiddler on the Roof. Like just have like Richard, like a stand-in for Richard Spencer just come on and be like, but what about the white man? And how quickly do you think we'd be banned out of the United States?
I can't ice skate.
You're already putting Richard Spencer on stage, and he's not immediately getting punched in the face. So
no, I'm not saying we would act in it. I'm saying we would write it and hire other people.
I mean, it doesn't matter who's acting. I'm just saying Richard Spencer's not immediately getting punched in the face on stage. So
do you think he's secretly gay?
Richard Spencer? I have no idea.
I mean,
no, didn't he get married? No, he got married.
No, he's been married and has kids, but there are other gay people who come out later.
Oh, he's like secretly gay.
Yeah. Like, listen, guys, I'm sorry, but the people who built the pyramids, they were white.
I gotta admit,
wait. So all of this stuff with him is gay ops, then?
Yes.
It's all gay ops.
Well, I mean, come on. He comes off a little bit fruity. I mean, no, okay, not a little bit. He comes off very fruity, and he regularly goes to anime conventions and takes pictures with transsexuals.
Oh, that's right. He has a couple of pictures with some anime characters.
Now, that part I didn't know, but I do know that somebody, I won't say his name, but somebody who basically was associated for a while with the alternative right and is a well-known writer, that he actually points to the time, like he has it time-stamped where when Richard Spencer is interviewed after Charlottesville, you could see, I think, Faith Goldie walking out of the bathroom after the shower. And so it's something like that. Like you could actually see her. So everybody kind of understands that he smashed it with Faith Goldie. He had, his wife, she's divorcing him. and that he's with some woman, and I don't know who that woman is now.
Well, hey, he's just trying to be traditional. Wink. You know.
Wow, I mean, if he was traditional, he'd stick with his wife.
No, that I'm being sarcastic.
Okay.
I honestly think that like kind of it's one of those situations of that is his weakness. He likes a little bit of he likes a highball now and then, and he likes to smash right wing poontang.
Well, I mean, what was it? One of his quotes was like, "Degeneracy is good in little bits. You like sprinkle it or some shit like that." He said something like that.
Oh my god! J.F. Garapi is kind of coming out as a pedophile without outwardly saying it.
Wait, what?
John Francois Garapi.
I know, but what?
Yeah. No, and he has a whole thing where he's like shown so many different clips of of him talking about how pedophilia is not a bad thing.
I gotta admit, I'm at this point. I gotta make sure. Now, I have definitely heard those clips, and they are. It's interesting the way he says it. My whole thing was when Andy pointed it out. It's the way he's talking about it. I get it's so scientific. He's being scientific. He's making a point that has to do with evolution and evolution of human behavior. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, technically, I understand what you're saying. I so wish
subtext, right? There's a lot of subtext that he's not really opening up.
It's just I kind of wish that he had the look of being a little sick at the same time running across his face, and it's not, it's like he's just explaining it, and I'm like, oh, that level of Romulan happening right now is freaking me out now, and so that's all I'm going to say is about that. Is it freaked me out? What really
about that autistic girl, and I, like I said,
bingo, bing, bing, bing. That's what gets me.
Okay, I've only heard one clip. I only had one clip, and he was like, I was just you asked the question, I explained it. But if there's like multiple clips of him doing it like somebody isn't asking him a question, he's just talking about it on his own, then that starts getting a little
weird. I didn't know that.
Out of nowhere, like nobody told him. So what about pedophilia? He's just like,
it's all like boom.
Because there was if I recall correctly, the one I heard about, it was like Zeph was asked the question or something like that. That's okay, but if he just does it unprompted, then
he did with Richard Spencer. Weird. He did with Richard Spencer. Richard Spencer, right at the beginning of their show, he was saying, by the way, people were talking about how I took money from what was his name? Roman Polanski. No, not Roman Polanski. It was somebody else. There was some Jewish guy.
It was Epstein.
Yeah, Epstein. Yeah. Yes. And Richard's just like trying to stay calm, like what? His face was like trying to stay straight, and his eyes were like wide open. It's like, oh well, okay. What
oh yeah, okay. I did see that. I saw somebody else played it or clipped it, and I did see that, and I was so confused. I was like, what is he talking about? Wait, are you talking about the Epstein I think he's talking about?
Yeah, I saw that clip too. I was just like, huh? The fuck?
Yeah. You're right. Richard Spencer looked so like you could tell he's like,
I didn't even know Richard Spencer.
Be cool.
I was just like,
you don't know what's going on, so just stay calm. Whatever happens, you did not say you support pedophilia. No matter what happens, you did not say that. You did not say X, Y, and Z. Oh, but
the question is, wait, hold on. The question is, who the fuck is Epstein not connected to now? It seems like everybody's fucking connected to Epstein. Like, goddamn.
Well, yeah, but there's a difference between being like, kind of indirectly, or you took a payment that, where like there was no way you would have known, and versus direct, heavy donations directly from Epstein while the court case was going on. You know, because if you got money from an organization that Epstein owns for something that Epstein's organization regularly pays for, like if you're in Hollywood, like, oh, I just got to go to this corporation. Yes, I don't like Epstein very much, but he owns X, Y, and Z company, and you need to use their facilities, like or whatever it might be that they provide, because that's where you go. That's where everyone goes. That's not the same.
I'm talking direct.
That's not the same as having someone directly contribute lots of money directly for a random project on the internet by one person who wasn't as well known back then.
But I'm talking, there's the fucking Bill Clinton on his fucking plane like 3 or 4 times or some shit.
Oh yeah,
like, goddamn.
I was going to say something about autism. I was going to say, with that girl, here's the thing. I'm on the spectrum, and I've mentioned that before. But here's the thing: Asperger's syndrome is not the same as other forms. There's a reason why they call it a spectrum. There are people out there who have to be wheeled around in wheelchairs, and they flop their arms. And they physically can't speak. It's like, they don't know how. And nowadays they're learning how to give them computers, and they can type in the computer what they want to say, which is really great. That's great. But so what I want to say is that people say, well, hey, come on, Arsene, you're on the spectrum too. I mean, come on, man. What if a girl wanted to date you, huh? Is she raping you? She raping you? My response would be, no. I am very high functioning. I've had jobs before. I've had girlfriends before. I am talking about deep philosophy and politics and the finance. Yeah, with a bunch of really cool people right now. But there are people out there on the spectrum who are you can't expect that they would be that mature. You can't expect that JF is going up to them and having a conversation about the ancient ruins of old Mayan temples, or talking about I don't know, the philosophy behind the movie Bandersnatch or something like that. These are people like,
So, all I know is that woman just freaked. It just was so uncomfortable when she would break out and start talking. And I'm like, okay, everybody's got to be uncomfortable with this. And after a few moments, I couldn't watch it anymore. And sure enough, people later were talking about it all over the place. Like, dude, that shit is super weird, bro. And I'm like, oh, man, okay. I just don't know how to handle this. I don't know if I could watch one of his casts if all of a sudden his wife, girlfriend, whatever, comes jumping in talking about having sex with gay.
Like that.
Oh. Well, remember her big thing was she likes to have the sex with the gay and blah blah blah, and you're like, wait, what? That woman who JF is with. Like, that was like, I don't know if she thought that was
this part. Jesus.
If she thought that was like the funniest thing in the world to say, but she said it more than once about having the sex with the gay, and all the gay men want her. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? And I'm like, please make it suddenly become super funny. And I just am hearing a Quebecois, and I don't understand, and it just got more weird.
You'll probably say, no, she just has an accent, and you do not understand, because he doesn't know how to use consonants. And and I'm like, no, that's not an accent. Like, that's way more than an accent. I know.
Yeah, this was super weird, JF. This was really odd feeling for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I know people who can barely speak English and who speak mostly French. And even when I don't understand what they're saying, they don't talk like that. That is not normal. I know other people with more severe forms of autism than me who can still hold a conversation with me who don't talk like that. That is some wheelchair slapping your hand, the side of your hand against your chest kind of stuff. That's some weird Down syndrome-esque levels. Come on. That's creepy. Like, Does anyone really believe that relationship is actually consensual? Does anyone?
I haven't seen this video, so I don't know.
I gotta say, like, now I am not doubting that she is probably quite happy having companionship, and
with a wealthy man who happens to be a famous scientist, right?
I guess he's wealthy. I'm not. I'm not.
Well,
I don't know.
Wealthy, but I mean, he is a well-known scientist.
Yes. And I could see that. And apparently he dedicates most of his time pretty much to whatever he does and her, because he indicated he doesn't really have friends he hangs out with or anything. So, like, well, she's getting lots of attention. I don't want to think about anything else she's getting. And they seem to be okay,
I don't want to know what's happening beyond attention. No specifics, please.
It's just so uncomfortable now. It's just this thing of like, okay, so if I watch his show, like, she's not going to suddenly walk in and say something strange, and then I'm like, or am I ready for something funny like that to happen with this guest? That's really now what's happening in my mind. I don't know for anybody else, but there's times where I'm like, now if she interrupts and talks about flirting with gay men, and this is the guest on, that would be fucking funny. But
if it's just her talking to the camera, and she just stands there talking like all the men, they say I am so pretty. They say pretty me, and they want to touch my body. Like,
wait. Is JF running gay conversion therapy?
No. Oh my god.
That's the question.
Gay black ops. wait, guys, we gotta show this video.
I know now, of course, totally.
I'm sorry, guys. It's just, oh my god, but this is the greatest discussion of all time, and I guarantee you, if YouTube sees this, I am going to have my channel gone the next morning. Okay, so let's go. Here we go.
So allow me, one of God's chosen people, to juice-plain why these laws exist and how they came to be.
I just love how he doesn't care enough, where he's okay with making a joke like juice plain. You know what? Respect, man. Respect.
Totally.
And I've actually used the N-word with some of my friends, but that's because we like shock humor. We're a bunch of 20-something-year-olds who love to say things that make people feel uncomfortable. And in fact, guess what? One time, one of my black friends and I were shopping, and so we just decided to do the funniest thing ever. There was this blue-haired woman at the checkout. I think you can already...
Oh, no.
He jumps into the cart. My friend just says, just push me, I'll do the rest. I'm like, you know what? Screw it, let's do it. We go up and say, hi, I'd like to buy this human here, please. And immediately, and by the way, my friend's got a big smile, ear to ear, waving to the woman like, hi, I'm ready to go to the plantation. And
oh my god.
And she goes like, Sarah, there are other customers. Oh, we got food here, and we start putting it on there. So she has to check us out now. And the entire time she's giving us this really shit-eating, like, angry look.
Later that night, dear diary.
But you know what I mean, like, goofing off.
She blogged like hell.
She's like, these two white supremacists, one who was black, by the way.
They're gonna harvest your organs.
Yeah, it's like Get Out, except it was real. But that's the thing, you guys kind of get what I mean. I'm not actually a racist. I just love dark humor.
I mean, dark humor's like food, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody gets it.
Exactly. I mean, Donovan. I mean, you kind of get what I mean. Like you were young and
Yeah, no. You guys have no idea. There's stuff I can make you look up on YouTube that you will never ever find on TV ever again, even though it was one of the most popular television shows. Like, and one of the most well-known comedy sketches of a generation, and you'll never know it existed. And it was because it was so racist, and it was like, no, it was funny.
Okay, so I do not have nearly enough subscribers to show that, because if I show that and then all of a sudden YouTube finds out, they're going to take it off the internet in sad times. But if I have enough subscribers at some point, everybody archive it and repost it just to make Sergey Brin shit his pants, you know. But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, come on, when you were a kid, didn't you like to, you know, do all those ridiculous jokes or whatever? Like,
oh, like I remember I had this whole crew of boys that they were constantly doing, like they were that early era of taking videos and trying to do comedy sketches. And they had like a year of shit that one night we were all watching, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys have been and Danny Wong was one of these guys, and and like, say for example, like when you're crossing a 4-lane street and there's a center island. Well, everybody sagged their pants, you know, in those days. That was the big thing. So these guys are, you know, lily white and sagging and starter jacket for, you know, like a Giants cap and everything. Traffic is now going. They are on the island and they let their pants fall down. And they start going, like, they yell at us like we're, you know, with the rest of us will be on the curb already. We'll be across the street. Now, you know, we look back and one of them's on this island. He lets his pants fall down as the traffic starts. And he's just like, oh no, my pants. Oh my God, I'm stuck in the middle of traffic. And the cars are whizzing by. And it's just, we just do stuff like that, you know, and like, you know, might do that, and like as we're walking past like old people, that one of the guys would be like, "Oh no, my pants! Oh, I don't have a belt! Oh man!" You know, and just be totally ridiculous. Yeah,
yeah. You know, they actually say that dark humor is a sign of intelligence.
These guys were smart as hell, and they are the guys who proved to me that public school is bad for smart kids.
Oh, yeah, that is true. You know, I know why? Because most of public school education is based on the Prussian system of obedience. No, I'm not even kidding. Like, that's where they model most of it. It's not designed to make you...
I remember hearing, like, our university system is, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing.
It's like German...
Robert Kiyosaki, one of my favorite authors... I'm sorry, Robin Hart, I'll get to you in a second. But anyway... Robert Kiyosaki wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, What the Rich Teach Their Children about money that the poor and middle class do not. I know I had to say the full title, others people won't understand. He talked about how the number one thing that they should be teaching in schools and high schools is finance, but no school, not even my own, has one class about that. And there's so many things that you know, like they say, like, oh, if you are high IQ, you will get the job. You will get paid the most of the money. You know, some Dominican. God damn it, I can't do accents anymore. Yeah, it's the Dominican. We are high IQ. But in reality, a lot of people are just financially illiterate when it comes to being able to save money. I mean, there are people like Robert who invest in real estate, and what he does is instead of selling his buildings, he usually rents them out and gets passive income. So even if something goes wrong, he always has passive income to make. You know.
But I mean, thinking cap on though, there's no incentive for schools to do that, because if people save money, then people won't buy stuff. If people don't buy stuff, then the economy goes to shit.
No, the economy doesn't necessarily go to shit. I'm saying there's a lot of other ways.
No, I'm just saying thinking cap on. Like there's no incentive for that.
Well, I guess maybe it's the biggest reason is because, you know, if you're not financially intelligent, you always have to depend on somebody else. And not trying to say anyone, but a certain guy whose name might be something like Bernard wouldn't like that very much.
Well, like say like one of the things that I've noticed with the way that schooling, there's actually this one book that I've got to crush it at some point. It's called The Dumbing Down of America, and it was written by somebody that took over the federal board of the Department of Education. She was actually running it for a while. And so what it was that she actually gets into the history of it, and it's worse than just Prussianism. That by the 1950s, you basically have all of those major foundations and funds that bring you PBS and Sesame Street and public PRI and all that shit, Ford Foundation, Rockefeller, all those people. Those people actually built the schools of education that are now a part of various universities. The more elite they are, the more they write stuff like curriculum concepts and stuff for lesser level schools of education. It took about a generation, but now we have a system that fundamentally the biggest industrialists in the world are why public education is and was the way it is. They've made it the way they want so that people could just be service sector employees, and it's weird for an American to save money and have their own business out of their home.
And that's why,
like I said, it's good for consumers or consuming.
Yeah, well, it's good for the people who want to pay cheap labor, And when you think about this. Have you ever noticed the businessman trope? Like he's an evil capitalist who wants to force people to give him more money. That's what you notice that in Hollywood and in most storytelling all the time. You don't hear much about the business other than Batman. You don't hear much about the business owner who's using his funds to change the world. Like Batman, and yes, Tony Stark he was kind of copied off of Batman. In fact, a lot of DC stories were copied by Marvel, unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it seems like only the most elite of the elites really hate businessmen, because when you think about it, they hate other businessmen. They always rip on, like the guy. Why? Because, even if you say something bad about Disney or about all these companies that say all these bad things about business, that's okay, because they own everything. But if you hate business in general, you also hate that guy who's trying to start up that chain restaurant that might maybe only have like stores in Milwaukee, Madison, Chicago, Minneapolis. There's not a store everywhere, but he's a bad guy. He's the wealthy. He's the top 1% of 1%.
One other idea I was thinking of is, like communists don't actually. It was the byline is basically communists don't actually like owning the means of production, because if you look at it, like communists don't like YouTubers. YouTubers, like, you have the means of production. You're fucking, you got your camera, you got your fucking shit. You own the means of production. They fucking hate YouTubers.
They do. Oh my god, that's so true. And that's the thing. They are risk adverse people, because when you think about it, they say they're revolutionaries. Oh, I'm wearing a beret because I'm a revolutionary. But in reality, these people are fighting for a system that's designed to avoid risk. That's not.
Yeah. Bingo.
And that's the thing. Like, you look at them, you're like, you people. No wonder it's all these like upper middle class white people who have like a job at like no, they don't have a job. They don't have any job. Like they say like, oh, you're a loser. You work at 7-Eleven. You mean the guy who's going to make manager next year because he's been working his ass off while you couldn't even be fucked to get out of your house? Like,
I mean, the ironic thing though is fuck, I just lost the thought. Never mind. Continue on. God damn it.
Well, but also you do get a lot of this support for stuff like the revolution out of people that really believe in FDR's system of how he changed the economy, how he changed the government, and none of these people ever want to confront the fact that FDR created the Pentagon. They just don't want to deal with it, and it's that they're baby boomers, and they had a militarized state given to them, and then they were told you don't have to have discipline, and you can still have an economy that's fundamentally at military levels of production at all time. Now there's not enough children to maintain this crazy machine, and even like Bloomberg and shit like that are writing about the drop in birth rates, and it's just, to me it's hilarious, because in a way all the worries people have, all these immigrants will flood in, blah blah blah, and it's like, don't worry, the major industrial powers are also as daft. This is not as much a plan by all of them as enough people doing what the fuck they want with enough money because they think they know what to do. They are all like 5 out of 10 are working together. The other 5 are trying to hold on to their multi-billion international empire of business, and there's no kids to buy their guns, or there's no kids to buy their widgets or sprockets, and they're like, how do I keep it going? And they're like, Muslims will not buy my sprockets, so this is, oh shit, what do I do? Who do I bribe to make my empire keep going? Because by law I have to produce a profit.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. That oh my god, it's so true. And it's funny about, wait, oh my god, we're never gonna get to this video if I don't. Sorry. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I just have to. I'm sorry. Here we go.
Well, to begin, we first have to separate federal law from state law. Yes, there's already a federal law related to preventing boycotts of Israel. In 1977, the federal government amended the Exportation Administration Act, also known as Now, while the majority of the law has to do with preventing U.S. companies from trading and working with countries our government has placed restrictions on, the part we want to concentrate is right here. It is the policy of the United States to oppose restrictive trade practices or boycotts fostered or imposed by foreign countries against other countries friendly to the United States or against any United States person. Now, you may have noticed 2 things. The first being that Israel is not specifically mentioned. In fact, nowhere in the law is Israel mentioned by name. And the second thing is that it says imposed by foreign countries against countries friendly to the U.S. This law meant that U.S. companies could not support boycotts created by foreign governments against countries the U.S. was allied with. And while Israel was not specifically mentioned by name, this amendment was directly created with Israel in mind. Why is that? Well, in 1973, Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack on Israel during Yom Kippur, Judaism's holiest holiday.
Dick move, bro.
Shortly after they declared war, OAPEC, the Organization of Air Petroleum Exporting Countries, and yes, I know this looks like something from Star Trek, but that is actually OAPEC's logo, and they decided to cut off all oil trade from their countries to any country that openly supported Israel.
But the Arabs made an economic power play. As punishment for this country's support of Israel, 11 Arab countries cut off all oil shipments to the United States.
We are heading toward the most acute shortages of energy since World War II.
With the oil embargo, an existing gasoline shortage became worse. Heating oil also was in short supply.
Now, it's important to understand how crazy this was for the U.S. government. The fact that this happened, that it severely affected the economy in a negative way, completely changed U.S. policy.
The crisis has shattered business confidence. Wall Street has slumped. Economists are forecasting the biggest recession since the Great Depression. Already, people are being laid off and firms are going on short time. America, the land of opportunity, has suddenly become the land of cutback and shortage.
Historically, we have yet to have faced this type of problem.
It was this moment in time that the US decided it needed to become energy independent from the rest of the world, so that something like this could never happen again. But cutting off gas to the US was not the only thing that was happening. Arab countries had also engaged in what is known as secondary boycotts. You see, a primary boycott, if a country like Egypt was boycotting Israeli goods and businesses. A secondary boycott would be if Egypt was boycotting any business that did not also boycott Israel. And this secondary boycott is what the Arab countries were doing to companies around the world. Now, the US government didn't like this, because if US companies started boycotting Israel, not for any ideological reasons, but just so that they could keep doing business in the surrounding countries, they would be effectively undermining the US government's foreign policy. Essentially, these secondary boycotts against Israel were allowing foreign countries to dictate what America did. And in case you didn't know, this is America! This is America. Sweet liberty and crap freedom, bitch. And we're not going to let some foreign country tell us what to do. So in response, the U.S. government passed the amendment.
I love this so far. What do you guys think?
Oh, this is good.
This is really interesting.
I really like PSA Stitch. I think he's hilarious. What do you think, Donovan? Like, I know you have some disagreements with him, but I mean,
no, he's brilliant. I mean, no, it's just that, I mean, I just get his perspective, you know, but he's freaking brilliant. Oh man. Like one of the best on YouTube, honestly.
Yeah. Hey, what did you think of my last video against, like, you know, the dog whistle thing?
Oh, I didn't see that one yet.
Oh no, you commented on it. You saw the dog whistle part 2. Remember where that guy was talking about like there are so many dog whistles that people have made hours of content or something like that.
Oh, that was oh shit! I just remember that guy being irritating, and I was listening, and I just thought it was funny after a while that I was like, really, this is how you're going to present dog whistles, like, and honestly, I get disappointed when they do that, when they're like, oh yeah, there's so many secret alt-right messages, and I'm like, all right, let's go, let's see what you got, what was in there, and then they're like, they're so secret, they're so subtle, you didn't see them, you don't know, they're unbelievable, they're like psychics, and I'm just like, waiting, and then it's like, and you're like, oh god, it's been 10 minutes and they don't have shit.
No, the main question is,
hold on, wait, and remember what I did? Remember what I did when he tried to show on the screen like an example of dog whistling? You know, remember, like, it was like there for a second, and then he takes it away right away, and then I
I was like, wait, what? And then you pointed it out, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" You know, like, man, they're not bringing their best.
I went through an entire article being like, "Yeah, this is actually where it comes from." In case you didn't know that.
No, so my question is, so a dog whistle, only dogs are supposed to hear, right?
Yeah.
So why is it that all these fucking progressives keep hearing these fucking Nazi dog whistles?
They don't.
Tell me why.
They're straw men. It's straw men. It's used to poison the well. The idea is that if they can.
No, I know, but just think about that for a second, though. Only Nazis are supposed to hear the whistle, right?
I know, totally. That is a part of it. Yeah. That is a part that makes it so funny to like think about, where it's like oh my, especially there's people who definitely, when they do that, a video like that, I've seen a number of critique videos on people like that, and they might not use the term dog whistle, but they'll try to use some term. Like there's that, I think, so the tranny who's not really much of a tranny, Riley Dennis.
Oh yeah, Riley Dennis.
And like that's one who will bring stuff up that you're sitting there and you're like, wait, what? And I mean, you know, because I'll watch some based motherfuckers. I'll search for them. I'm like, wait, this person's really based? What do they put on YouTube? You know, like I really try to dig for it now, because I'm like, okay, let's see what you got, you know? And so sometimes when it's like Riley Dennis points out this, no, blah, 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 and I'm like, oh, that's not very impressive. I thought you really had some like real scary stuff or interesting stuff, but
like when Jay Dyer talks about esoteric Hollywood and all the Gnostic symbolism, like that stuff's cool because he'll show you resources. He'll talk to you about like oh yeah, this is something that every Freemason knows about. This is something that any Kabbalist school would tell you, and if you and you'll see it in all these movies. It's a consistent theme. Like oh.
Yeah,
interesting. But then, like, it's these people. There are so many dog whistles that people have made hours of content. Quick little clip, take it away. Moving on. And wait, what? Wait, no, wait a minute. Like what? And there are so many dog whistles. So many dog whistles. So many. Stay one. Stay one. But I mean, did you like that? I mean, like.
Well, and most importantly, then it becomes this thing of that they make themselves. It's really a way of making themselves It's self-importance. See, they can spot the secret language of the fascists as they're rising up because this person's investigating them and they're fighting they're a part of the resistance and lucky they're on the ground. Looking for what these people are up to. It's similar to the people who search
it sounds
Twitter.
Like a History Channel thing or something.
Oh, totally. No, they totally want to get that kind of funding. Like Now This is similar to that.
Is it kind of Ancient Aliens kind of thing or something?
Yeah,
They'll find out, is Richard Spencer actually related to Adolf Hitler? Well, no, blah, 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 blah. And you're just, clip, and it's look at how they both have eyes that are extremely similar. They're round, it's, who knows?
And Adolf Hitler really and Adolf Hitler was and you had a pet frog when he was 4. Connection.
I know, totally. Clip. Yeah, totally.
What? Okay, wait, and well, here's the thing about that. I love. Did you think my video was okay? Like, did you think there was anything I could have done better, or like?
Oh, well, shoot. I didn't think of it like that.
Pretty comprehensive.
Well, no. I mean, I just kind of took it in. Like, I was like, all right. Like, yeah. I didn't think. I guess I don't think of you trying to monetize them. I don't think you
monetize it. I just want to do a good job. I like TLDR. TLDR. I like his videos because every video I've ever watched of him, the dude who talks about science and biology all the time. He takes the persona of a deer or whatever.
Yeah.
That guy. I was always such a big fan of his, and I was like, I want to be comprehensive. I would love to just be like, you can say anything you want to me, but I can just go to my video, and in a second, I have a source that disproves everything.
Oh, then you're gonna have to start scripting them.
Yeah,
doing hardcore scripting of them. I've actually had to confront that I'm like, if I really, the next level is scripting, and I'm like, and you don't want to sit down and write. That's all it is, Donovan.
Nut it up, right? Nut up, shut up.
Totally. And it's that kind of thing of if you just get used to scripting, if you take like 10 minutes a day at first to write, and then you put a little bit more time, you look at it like exercise, you end up becoming a writer again, and I'm like, okay.
Hopefully not the same kind of exercise that JF probably makes that girl do.
Oh, no. With that, back to the video.
Importation Act, making it illegal for companies to capitulate to foreign governments when it goes against America's foreign policy. And I agree with this law. We can't let foreign countries bully U.S. businesses into making decisions that go against what the American people vote for. And at the time, it's not like the idea of companies giving in to anti-Israel boycott demands was far-fetched. Many companies not only already were giving in, but they continued to boycott Israel just to maintain positive financial relations with Arab countries even after the law went into effect, figuring they could make more money from the Arab countries even while paying fines to the U.S. government while breaking the law. Some of these companies were McDonald's, Citibank, Safeway, Nestle, Pepsi, and basically every Japanese company. So we're not talking about small players here. In fact, it was only in 1993 that McDonald's started opening in Israel. Though that's probably not a good thing.
Oh my god, I'm having a heart attack.
Anyway, why no federal law existed? A law even the SPLC agrees with. So why are things happening now in current year? Why are states passing their own stricter versions of this law all of a sudden and specifically mentioning Israel? Well, recently the BDS movement, or investment in nations against Israel, asterisk, and yes, we'll be getting to that asterisk later, movement has been growing and picking up more support worldwide, including in the US. In response to this recent surge in BDS popularity, many states decided they would put forth their own stricter anti-boycott laws, since the federal law only relates to boycotts started by foreign countries, not organizations or groups. In response to BDS movement's growing popularity, pro-Israel super PACs and individuals have been giving money to candidates and pushing them to support Israel in many ways.
I love that J Street.
Ways, including passing stricter anti-BDS laws. But getting money is only a piece of the puzzle. For example, you think if a hypothetical pro-Mexican immigration super PAC started donating millions to Trump or other Republican candidates, that they would suddenly turn against building the wall? Of course not, because they have to appeal to their base. At the end of the day, money only buys you ads. It doesn't buy you votes. You still need, or at least the perception of, doing the things your voters want you to do. So
now,
why are so many states passing this pro-Israel?
I'll say this. That is the case unless you don't have a whole lot of competition. If you are if you're like an Elizabeth Warren type, where you almost are always guaranteed to get the votes, you can sometimes start taking some money on the down low, as long as you can play off like whatever you're voting for that maybe your base doesn't want as a small issue. And look at all the things you are doing for them, right?
I mean, that's the thing, actually. Small states actually are some of the most stable seats. Because, like, what is it? South Dakota has, like, 500,000 people or some shit like that. You don't need to spend that much ad money. Just, you got a solid seat. That's why a lot of these people are there the longest.
Yeah,
the most powerful positions are the small population states.
Yeah, but although he's about to explain why supporting Israel is a win-win.
Anti-BDS laws. Who are they trying to appeal to? The obvious answer would be the Jews. But
that don't make no sense.
For two reasons. The first being that the Jewish population in the States is tiny. Hardly worth trying to court. And the second being that the majority of the states enacting these laws were controlled by Republicans at the time these laws were passed. And according to Pew data, most Jews vote overwhelmingly Democrat. So why would Republican politicians be spending all this time and energy pushing controversial anti-boycott legislation that would seemingly conflict with standard right-wing ideology of the government not telling people and businesses what to do?
I love that. Don't tread on ye.
Do in order to appeal to a tiny population of people that don't vote for them. The pro-Israel politics from Republicans is not really about appealing to Jews at all. Well, then who's it for? If we look at Pew's religion survey again, you may notice something. Which religious group dominates the Republican Party? That's right, the Evangelians.
Oh my god.
I meant evangelicals. Yes, it's not the Jews these politicians are appealing to with all their pro-Israel talk and laws, but the evangelicals. But why, you ask? Why would so many evangelical Christians care about Israel? Well, I'll give you a hint. It starts with A and ends with... Many evangelical Christians believe the Bible is the literal, infallible Word of God, and that includes the end times.
This may be the most important prophetic spot in the entire Bible, because the final act of the book of Revelation is going to begin right here at this place. Thousands of tanks out here in this valley, rumbling, fighting, firing. Can you imagine jet airplanes screaming overhead? The battle is going to be fierce. And when Israel's about to be defeated, the Bible tells us that Jesus Christ himself will intervene. He is going to defeat the Antichrist. He's going to defeat the false prophet. Both of them will be cast alive into the lake of fire. At that time, Satan is going to be bound for the next 1,000 years, and we are going to crown Jesus Christ as King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
According to Pew's polling, 48% of evangelical leaders worldwide believe that Israel's current existence is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy, while 59% of evangelical believers in the U.S. consider Israel's existence as fulfilling the second coming.
Crash against me and be broken.
You see, the Christian prophecy about end times requires that the Jews control the state of Israel.
The word Armageddon is actually two words, Har Megiddo, or Hill of Megiddo. You are standing on the Hill of Megiddo right now. The final act of the book of Revelation is going to begin right here at this place.
Lifeway
sounds like a really holy place. How many teens do you think go there every night that are horny and get it on? What do you think, guys? Welcome to the Hill of Megiddo. It's so holy. Hey, what are you two kids doing? Get off! Well, come on, old man. We're just having fun.
Christian Research, an evangelical Southern Baptist organization, did their own polling asking other evangelical Christians about Israel. And here you can see that 80% thought that God's promise to Abraham and his descendants about control of the region we now call Israel was for all time. When asked about the modern rebirth of the state of Israel in 1948, 80% said that these events were fulfillment of biblical prophecy and shows that the world is closer to the return and second coming of Jesus Christ. 63% said the Bible says God gave the land of Israel to the Jewish people, and 52% said that Israel is important for fulfilling biblical prophecy. So suddenly, the vehement support from Israel from Republican politicians makes sense. Combine this with a closer cultural feeling to Jews and Muslims, and that Israel goes out of its way to let as many Christians as possible go and play tourists at religious holy sites, where it's not exactly clear if Palestinians controlled the area, they would do the same, and you have a winner. Even Kufi, Christians United for Israel, has more members in it than any other pro-Israel organization in America.
Israel's fight is our fight. We are one. We are united. We will not be discouraged. We will not be defeated. We will not be intimidated. We will not sit down.
Oh, that's Hagee. Okay.
You know, this is actually interesting. This is why the alt-right people don't like Christianity so much, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Oh, bing, bing, bing. Totally.
Well, this is more of what's it called? This is more of Protestantism. Catholics don't do this. We may.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter. The alt-right doesn't like Christianity so much anyway, and also it has Jewish origins anyways, so they're not gonna like it.
Yeah.
But no, you definitely are right in that the evangelical movement was thriving during the 80s and 90s, and Styx mentions this all the time. His whole world was shaped by this being around in the culture. I was too old to see this stuff hit a lot of TV stations and the internet so younger people apparently were really soaked in this when I didn't have to be. And
here we go.
World, the victory is going to be ours.
This is the original music. I didn't add this. I know, right? They always
totally, dude.
All these people when you're talking about, well, what's the deep talk about God? Well, God is love. Like those people who would just say something as basic as that. Also, when they're talking about something like this, add in the most dramatic music ever, like coming this summer, Israel gets people to vote for them, and then they pray, Dun dun dun. This sounds like the soundtrack to like some kind of like dark, bloody action movie where some badass cop who loves Israel and Jesus doesn't play by the rules. Like this is not. Oh man.
United for Israel began in February 2006 with 400 evangelical leaders in San Antonio. Today, we are the largest pro-Israel organization in America, with over 1.25 million members who are ready to respond to the needs of Israel.
And look at all the political speakers they get.
And I am pleased to be here and associate myself in every way.
Thank you, CUFI, for what you do.
There are no greater supporters of the state of Israel than Christians United for Israel.
It was only a year and a half ago we had the Secretary of...
Hey, look! It's Cruz. It's live.
Yep.
Cruz.
State John Kerry describing Israel as an apartheid state.
They've been in for thousands of years with the clothes on their back, and the people Israel is fighting are the enemies of the United States as much as they are Israel. How about a round of applause for Michelle Bachmann? There is no better supporter, state of Israel, than Michelle.
Well chosen clip.
Thank you, Pastor Hagee. Thank you, Kufi, for supporting Israel.
By the way, is he on the left of Jews, like the left-leaning Jews, like Netanyahu?
No, he's far more right-wing. He's the one who actually wrote a paper against labor Zionism, and that guy on RT, that guy on RT, Tom Hartman. He went on for years, and I finally, when I had the internet, I was able to look up this white paper, and it was nobody I know even had heard of labor Zionism,
So do you think that?
Yeah, Netanyahu is the anti-kibbutznicky, anti-socialist guy.
So do you think he's better for Israel or worse, Netanyahu?
The thing is, I gotta figure that I don't know enough about the people who are in their government. Unfortunately, I have a really hard time determining. They have a parliamentary system, so it's harder to figure out who's who and what's what.
Yeah, you'd have to do a deep dive.
Totally.
Yeah.
What's amazing about Christians United for Israel is not just the power of your voice, it's also the importance of the cause you have dedicated your voice to.
Pastor John Hagee, I thank you for your leadership.
Oh! Bing, bing, bing.
And the Jewish state of Israel. And today, through Christians United for Israel, more than 3.3
We are united. We're Kufi. You're what? You're Kufi.
I know, totally. I know that name. That fucking name is hilarious.
Yeah. Like, you better watch out. We're Kufi. And all of a sudden, like, it's like, you're Huikin? Or Kufi? Oh! And they all start laughing at them. Shut up. It's a cool name. It's hilarious. You Americans and your silly names.
With Pence there, that was the whole point of Pence, is that Trump was basically making sure that of all the elements in Washington, he let the evangelicals finally have an absolute seat at the fucking table.
Oh, and that's how he could be like, red but pussy and still get the evangelical votes, right?
Bingo. He let them.
Not to mention that, but he had a Supreme Court list that he released before the election.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Thank you. Yeah.
Anyway, here we go.
Believers raised their voices.
And here's Mike Evans, an American evangelical Christian who created the Friends of Israel Museum in order to promote Christian Zionism, giving Trump the hilariously named Silver Menorah Award for officially acknowledging Jerusalem of Israel. Marco Rubio has been trying to get into the action for a while now, most recently sponsoring the first bill of the new year. Oh,
he's holding a football. He likes America. He probably doesn't know how to throw it, but he's holding it like a little baby.
Look at how macho he likes. He likes the ball of the sport.
He likes balls. He's really into balls. And sometimes
look at that.
He really likes balls.
Look at that grip. Look at that. What a sportsman.
look, he's got a little football and everything, just like an average, everyday American. What a individual. I'll definitely be voting for him. In the bill was a section called Combating BDS Act of 2019. In an effort to keep the courts continually ruling against the state laws, they want to pass a bill which basically just gives extra cover and protection on a federal level to what all these individual states like Texas are doing. When Bernie Sanders criticized him on Twitter for this, literally being the first bill of the new year instead of trying to end the government shutdown, Rubio responded with this bizarre tweet. "This is a lie. My bill doesn't punish any political activity. It protects the right of local and state governments that decide to no longer do business with those who boycott Israel." A purposely misleading and disingenuous statement because it actually does both these things. So boycotting Israel is a constitutional right, but boycotting those participating in BDS isn't? So, apparently, Marco Rubio thinks the First Amendment, the law that protects people from the government, also protects the government itself?
No, there's a hilarious picture I got to show you. It's the same picture of Spider-Man, except Daily Wire posted it, and they said, Jesse Small confronts his attacker.
Oh, no.
Wait, is this the police one?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was the Spider-Man one.
Oh God, I saved that one.
Oh, that's so great.
A horribly dangerous precedent to set, claiming the government as an entity has its own First Amendment protections that trumps an individual's First Amendment rights. That's definitely not going to be used in a horrible way in the future. Now, the bill was filibustered down by Democrats in the Senate, and some did directly speak out against this provision. However, it's not clear how many voted against the bill because some Democrats have vowed not to pass anything until they can reach an agreement about the government shutdown. So don't be surprised if this comes up again. As even though the majority of the states passing these laws are controlled by Republicans, you can see that there's still plenty that weren't passing these laws as well. That's because for most politicians, regardless of political party, supporting Israel is the perfect issue. The largest religious group in the country supports Israel, most of the people in the country overall support Israel, and you can get money from super PACs for doing so. From a completely cynical, pragmatic political perspective, it's a no-brainer. And the anti-Israel side is way less popular, way less funded, and often tied to anti-Semitism by its opponents. So who wants to deal with any of that? Israel is one of those rare political issues where everything just lines up to make it a great non-partisan issue to support as a politician, which is probably why Rubio thought he could guilt the Democrats into voting for it during the shutdown. Little Marco. So that's the why behind
I wanted to show all that. Okay, so thoughts so far, because then I do want to show this just because I want Broken Heart to know how annoying this guy is. But what did you guys think so far?
Good, Donovan.
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, did you see that? Did you see that one before, or did you, have you just seen his other videos?
Yeah, I hadn't watched that one yet.
Yeah, so I always thought, how much could you really go against your base with votes? Like even if you're paid, even if you're like the hunchback, big nose kind of person who's like rubbing his hands together and would fly off in a balloon with while twirling his mustache and say, "He shall certainly take my inheritance."
Well, one other thing that's actually was it Andrew Angwin, right? Of the Daily Stormer guy. That's what this actually. He supported fucking Jeremy Corbyn in the election or whatever because Corbyn is like an anti-Semite or whatever, and I'm just thinking about I'm thinking about the alt-right right now, and are they supporting fucking Omar Ilin or whatever? Because she's not. She's
You
kind of.
you mean Ilhan Omar?
Yeah, Ilhan Omar. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Minnesota whatever politician.
Yeah, but I mean, that
And
makes sense now. I mean, come on. He is right. It's like you can only go against your base so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and passing something like that, if people knew that it would take away free speech, would be pretty controversial. So going along with that. So when you really think about it, that's why I think a lot of people who think that everything's controlled by the Jews. Well, I think it's a little bit more nuanced, bro. Picture inserted than that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, this guy is so annoying. Just listen to this guy. Like
decades before B, which was invented in the 1920s as an insecticide. This is a dog whistle to Holocaust deniers.
Wait, hold on. Let me show you the
camps with three major ones. One was a concentration camp for political.
Wait, there we go. Wait.
Really? I'm talking about genocide again? It's only been like 2 months. So the apologists have to reframe the deaths as not the main goal, but just a side effect. Here's the Auschwitz wasn't that bad narrative in action.
Auschwitz had a nice orchestra.
Yeah,
Soccer
Auschwitz
team.
they had a pool, they had a gym, they had a symphony orchestra. I mean, there's Mexicans in America that would kill for those living conditions. I mean, come on. Man, their clothes were pest-free.
Now, a lot of that is actually true. They did have an orchestra and a soccer team and a swimming pool. But Auschwitz was a massive complex consisting of multiple camps with three major ones. One was a concentration camp for political prisoners, one was a factory labor camp, and the one that we all know, Auschwitz II-Birkenau, was the concentration and extermination camp. Guess which one didn't have any of those amenities? But he also threw one in there that you probably didn't catch unless you're in the know.
Man, their clothes were pest-free.
Is he talking about the normal delousing that prisoners go through? Of course not. The gas used in the mass execution of human beings at the concentration camps was Zyklon B, which was invented in the 1920s as an insecticide. This is a dog whistle to Holocaust deniers, suggesting that the mass amounts of the
Now, do you hear the music in the background? It's this most bland, royalty-free piano of all time. And here's the thing. If you listen to the full context, they were making jokes. That's what it was. That's what jokes are. If you ever watched one of these lefties that used to be comedians, then sold out, like Sarah Silverman or Amy Schumer, who would be like, we are trying to protect our children from the horrible guns that now have a mind of their own and cause school shootings. And they're stockpiling humans to pull the triggers for them. They would make the darkest kind of abortion is for fun kind of black people are this kind of jokes, but this guy just doesn't get it. And just look at that face. Look at his attire and everything. He looks like the definition of a mama's boy.
Arceon, stop being racist. You're just what do you mean? What does he look like? Stop being a racist.
What?
I've noticed a lot of this kind of these kind of people, and this guy.
I can't tell if you're joking. I can't tell if you're joking. I can't tell.
No, it's that this guy reminds me a lot of Mundane Matt. Look how I've got a normal setting in the background. It's a normal home. I have a normal shirt. I'm a normal person with. Who is offended in the normal way that all of you normal people are offended. But little did you know that sometimes there's secret offenses, and you need to know about dog whistles. So I'm going to fill you in on dog whistles, my fellow normal people. It just, yeah.
I am a human being. I have feeling too. Me have eyes and normal shirts. Me fits in perfectly.
Yeah, okay, NPC.
But no, I mean, well, he's an NPC. That's so true. Look at him. Like his nose, all his hairs are trimmed to the absolute most bland possible. All even his haircuts isn't unique. It doesn't stand out. There's nothing even handsome about it. It's just this weird dome shape. Everything about appearance just appears non-threatening.
The thing that I think is funny is that he's...
Wait, hold on. It's just the most non-threatening, I do not offend the Whammons at all kind of appearance. You know what I mean?
Well, and the thing of is, you know, that he's like, oh, this is a dog whistle to these people or those people. Now, if he had picked, say, any normal politician making a joke that you could be like, okay, now here is a reference, and I'm going to bring up this strange show that none of you should know about called The Daily Shoah. No, he goes straight to The Daily Shoah and is like, this is what a bunch of people who would name their show after a mass genocide for jokes. These are the jokes they would make, and it's like, would it possibly be about a mass genocide? Yes, actually. How could you must know about dog whistles? You know, I mean, it's just the weirdest thing. It's like, I don't. This is why when I saw this, I was like, oh, this guy is not really like sussing out some hidden agenda kind of shit, really.
Hey, Donovan, I know. Okay, Broken Heart, I know you can't see him, but Donovan, look at how much his hair blends. That much blending. That hair is so short, and yet he combed it slightly to the side and back. You know, every inch of his hair is like, even his stubble is just so perfectly trimmed. He doesn't have any facial expressions other than normal. I exist. I am awake. My eyes are open. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
I am very neutral. You know, everything like his shirt is so plain and easily replaceable. Everything about him just screams, I am not a threat. You not near to fear me. I am not alien person.
Totally. He is not. He's not like the Golden One, where most of the shot is made of chest. You know.
Oh yeah, and he has a big Viking beard, and he talks like this. Hello, lads. I am here to talk to you about why, if you play video games, you should look like video game character by getting the big statues.
Remember that actually the key to, I figured it out with the whole thing with the Golden One, when trying to pull him off, you have to make the tone at the end of the sentence drop. He is here to tell you, men. That and I can't do it because there's a sing-song quality that is obviously in that language. That's probably quite wonderful to hear when spoken, but that they drop. He specifically seems to drop toward the end of the sentence, and it's really interesting the way he does it.
It's also very throaty, like like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. There's so much sound going on that I'm like, man, these people are really interesting. I really hope he wins. You know.
But anyway, listen to this. Oh wait, I showed that again.
Background. You've likely seen a lot of these.
Wait, hold on, let me just show that little thing that you just did.
There are literally so many dog whistles that people have made hours of content exposing and explaining them. I've even done a few of them in the first few minutes of this video just to show how easily they fly under the radar. Including
that's how quickly it went, and then came in and then took it away, like that fast. It's like ting 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 by, like, oh. Look at that! Look at that face. That should be a screen cap right there. I think
totally.
I'm gonna that later. Just like make his mouth a little wider, and just say, have a little caption that says "Need soy." Anyway, hey guys, I think I should shut it down now. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. We've been going for quite a while, but
yeah, totally. All right.
Did you kids enjoy the show?
Oh yeah, fun times.
Definitely.
Yeah, fun times. Oh my god. Oh my god. Broken Heart, you got to look up Knowing Better. He is so annoying. It's almost fun to watch. Is
Okay.
It's
Oh
almost.
wait, yeah, I think I've seen Knowing Better. Yeah, I think I've seen them a lot.
I love that name. That's great. Knowing Better. That's see.
Yeah.
You know the dog whistles. You see the dog whistles. You should know better. Know better than listen to those dog whistles. Okay.
Go to your room, RCN. You should know better.
Oh, and in case actually this comes up before we shut down, I want to say to any of the audience members, if there is a beautiful thing is happening, I want to praise the millennials because right-wing art is thriving as long as we pay for it. You can get your Sweetie Squad shirts. You can find almost any right-wing meme, Pinochet helicopter tours, all that stuff, all over the internet at these, at Teespring and Redbubble, and I mean, all beautiful. It's wonderful, and it's just really just let your imagination fly, and let your fingers do the walking, and let your shirt do the talking, but don't get hit in the mouth.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah, and like I said, we got to close down right now. But
all right.
Yeah, Donovan, could you try to make a Teespring store for yourself?
Ooh, I'll have to start drawing.
Well, you should have something called right-wing architecture, where and then V left-wing architecture, and then one side you have cathedrals and churches. And you have little Chatelet symbols everywhere. And
I guess for the record, I have a Teespring store. So.
Oh, there we go. Boom.
Boom, and nice.
I've been working with what is it? The Adobe whatever thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to Broken Hearts Teespring store, and on the left you'll have high-rise apartments, and then have Bernie Sanders' face everywhere.
Totally.
Hey, you know what? I thought of one that I could definitely make. You want to know what it is? So my T-shirt. I thought about this for a long time. My T-shirt would be here's your free delivery of salt, and then it hands it off to somebody who has a tattoo of a hammer and sickle on their hand. And by the way, I think we should absolutely send I would love to do this. I would love to send a whole crate of Mediterranean sea salts to what's his name? James Morrissey, the one who said that the MAGA kid should go in the wood chipper hat first, and just be like, here you go. Here's your new samples of salt.
No. Well, I assume he's getting sued or something.
He's probably going to get sued.
So he loses the lawsuit. Send him so much fucking salt.
There you go. Totally.
Yeah, everyone who's listening now, send James Morrissey salt.
But wait, make sure you label it salt. We don't want the fucking FBI knocking on
No. Make sure it's salt. Salt.
Yeah.
An edible Mediterranean or Celtic sea salt. We nothing that ticks, okay? Nothing that ticks. Nothing.
No, wait. Does any place in Scandinavia have salt? Because it'd be Nordic salt. Fucking send Nordic salt to him.
Or no, wait, Russian salt.
And you send him to.
And say that
Nordic sea salt.
The bots on my server auto send these to you.
Oh, God.
Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. Okay.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. Bye.